Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for being here. I hope you're in good health and secure. Get situated here. Sorry about that. We're still reading through this rather comprehensive treatise on protecting the nation. We're learning again, Nichiren situating the teachings, the culminating teachings of Shakyamuni, the Lotus Sutra, in proper historical context, and also because he's got to deal with the state, the context of affairs of Buddhism in medieval Japan, medieval world, in a fairly recent, within 100 years, a shogunate ruled country, a very authoritarian ruled country, right? As is historically the case in the development of larger societies in the history of mankind, right? That doesn't mean it's right. It means that we humans have a certain inclination to establish control, power, to feed ego. In large part, the very fabric of the way that we're instantiated, manifested, is from a tremendous energy of wanting exactly that, to perceive a physical reality of ideas. Sounds like we have some new little stray dogs. You may hear them in the background. Hopefully that's not too distracting. That my comment was probably more distracting. At any rate, all of that is to say that he has to address the current state of influence, the current state of misunderstandings and promoted agendas that are using Buddhism, the teachings of Buddhism, in improper order, along with added commentaries to cloud the proper order of teachings in order to, I mean, they don't just do this for the fun of messing with it, but just like anything else, human beings have ego. And that ego sometimes is very necessary for things like survival, self-protection, but it certainly plays a negative role when it becomes greedy. And that greed then spawns manipulation, and then facts no longer matter. Facts are what is a rhetoric used to usurp control. And why would you do that? Because there's a payoff. It's not just egotistical, I'm better than you, but it's I can gain the ear of those who are given charge to control the nation, that can make decisions about the population, who have a power of the identity of the nation at their hands, in their control. And if I can seat next to that, then by extension, I too have control. And so I need to establish a way of communicating for that entity of control, in this case, the shogunate, I need to deliver to them a psychological advantage to garnering the allegiance of the nation at large, that the nation at large, with the people in their present state of education and understanding who aren't in the sophisticated places of government, how are they easily controlled, vis-a-vis manipulated, so that they become good citizens and do as they're told. Authoritarianship, right? On the other side of the equation, not to forget, most people have a tendency to be lazy. And I don't mean sloth. I mean, there's plenty of that. We can point to that. But I mean, in general, human beings get tired of always forging ahead and forging through. Give them a task, like a farmer, they accept that that's a task that requires a lot of them. But what it requires is a known thing. It has history. And so they just get with the program and that's what they do. But spiritually, psychologically, they're going to listen to people in places of power, places of governance, that don't put too much pressure on them to have to do other things, to have to do even more tasks that they're doing as more activity out there, sorry. So governance becomes also a fit for the populace to simply just tell me what you want me to do. I don't want to have to figure out governance as well. If I feel secure enough in what I do, in my worldview, and there aren't too many things impinging upon me, other responsibilities impinging, I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Laziness may not be the right word, but we like our comfort zones. We like our rote behaviors. And if the government, those in charge of the greater nation, don't impose too much on us, we like that. And if there's something they need from us, then just make it simple. Just ask me what you want me to do. I'll do it so that I can continue doing what I enjoy doing. I mean, that's human nature, right? But that human nature leads us to authoritarianism. Because those who want control say, well, they just need to be told what to do. That satiates their sensation of belonging and protection. It's kind of like they make the government their parent. Don't do this, do that. I'll spank you if you do that. I'll reward you if you do this. Cool, I know what to do and what not to do. That's authoritarianism. I'm not saying anything negative about parenting. We human beings take many years to train into being a productive member, not only of society, but for ourselves. We have to be equipped with the tools of living this samsaric life. And it's the parent's responsibility to guide that child into a proper scope so that that child can then assume the reins of their own life eventually. We humans take a long time to learn our situation in samsara, right? Most animals, most species, and that happens very quickly. Like a bear rolling a cub out of its cave so that it can learn to go out into the wilderness, right? It's a very proactive, but also self-realizing. You grow up quickly as a bear cub. Within a year, you better know how to get your own food and live on your own. Don't depend on me to do it. You can do it yourself now. Well, if we did that to a 1-year-old human being, they wouldn't last very long. right? It takes years and years. So all of that, again, is to say that there's a dual equation here of those who like to be led because it makes life easier, and those who are willing to take on that mantle and go, oh yeah, I'm going to lead you. Don't look too hard at what I'm doing. Just do as I say, right? What that means is, and we've seen this through Greek philosophy, if you study Greek ancient history, Rome, and the fall of Rome, right? For instance, let's talk about Rome for just a moment. The literature and the history of these empires that have built, whether it's Spanish, French, Roman, Italian, or what was the first one I said? Anyway, Greek. The idea in the writings is that those who lead are especially imbued with something extra, whether it's invoking a direct relationship with the mythologies, the gods, the deification, and their special place of connection with that imbued wisdom. You can go from Roman Catholicism to Hebrew and Kabbalah teachings to the Muslims, and just a lot of religion mixed with ideology of man, how to be a proper human, right? There's always, historically, this ideation of those who are especially imbued, therefore with knowledge that the everyday man and woman would not have access to. So it's a kind of not a bequeathing, but an acceptance of one's role. It's not unlike the Indian caste system. You were born into poverty, and poverty is where you will be. That is your caste. Pre-Buddhism, that would have been almost a definition of karma. That's not how we understand karma today, of course. Right? But Shakyamuni revolutionized the idea of karma as something that we create, we're born with, and that we can access and manipulate, alter, create our own karmic momentum. That was quite revolutionary. So it's vital, and I've been asked about this by many of you, why Nichiren, and what gives him, and he asks it of himself in these, right? The question and answer thing. How do you know this? He must separate the behaviors of ego and manipulation and the state of affairs with all of these different teachers claiming Buddhism as they're the ones, right? This competitive thing is ours is better than theirs. Somehow, at the fundament of the teachings of Shakyamuni, there must be a truth. Everybody can't be correct. And if they're assailing each other for whose is better, that's a pointless argument, ultimately, because there must be, from the mouth of Shakyamuni, the founder, the creator of this method of enlightenment, very clear teachings of over 50 years he spent teaching people. It must be obvious in the teachings. So let's not take the word of this person, or even Nichiren. Let's look at what Shakyamuni actually says. And Shakyamuni exhorted his students to do that too. He said, don't follow me. Don't follow Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama, however you see me, the man. Don't do that. Buddha is a state of clarity that is the fundament of every phenomenon in the universe. Now, the way you see the universe, the way you experience the universe is uniquely yours. You may share many opinions that seem alike through language and so forth, but how you, in your mind, actually experience the world at large and your place within it is very individual to you. So your path through your mind, which is a massive collection of energies, right? You will have to have your own insights. Your path, your steps toward your enlightenment will be uniquely yours. So the answer isn't going to be in the words. It's going to be in the meaning beneath the words. Look for that meaning. And that meaning isn't the same for everyone. That meaning and the search for it is your method of understanding ultimately what the goal is. This mind state of Buddha in your particular mind. It's the same Buddha, it's the same life state, but your ability to incorporate it into your mind is specific. So Nichiren is carrying this out to the nth degree. He's directly quoting Shakyamuni over and over again. And by doing that, he basically throws his hands out and go, so how can so-and-so say this? It doesn't agree. It doesn't fit in any way whatsoever. His words don't have the same meaning as Shakyamuni's teachings. He's deviating. And therefore, he's a bad teacher because he's putting incorrect misunderstandings in the minds of the people. He's saying, don't look here, look over here. When the answer is here, he's providing a different route that ultimately prohibits, impairs your insights. And he does that to have influence on you. And now we question the influence. Shakyamuni's influence was all about helping you find your path to awakening. If that's not your goal of influence, then what are you doing? You're an enemy of Buddha. In other words, you're working against everyone's enlightenment. That's heinous. That's unallowable. So this is Nichiren's position, right? So we enter the treatise on that very subject. Is how should somebody purposefully, or even not purposefully, pushing incorrect agendas of Shakyamuni's perfect teachings? How should we respond? What should be done? So, question, Nichiren proposes. Some disciples of priest Honen revere all the Buddhist scriptures and practice the Lotus Sutra. Why do you refer to them all as slanderers of the true Dharma? Well, that's interesting. They're following a teacher that's pushing them to Nembutsu practice, which is completely outside the trajectory and the goal of Shakyamuni and his culminating teachings of the Lotus Sutra. And yet, the word practice here merely means that they're reciting the entire sutra or parts of the sutra. They're kind of hopping around, right? Oh, we'll chant Amida's name, but we'll also read the Lotus Sutra. Yeah? So here's Nichiren's answer. They open all the Buddhist scriptures and read the Lotus Sutra only to make certain that these scriptures preach the, quote, difficult to practice way, end quote, to promote the evil teachings of the collection of passages on the Nembutsu. You see how distorted that is? The more they read sutras and commentaries, the more grievous is the sin they commit of slandering the true Dharma. They are like monk Sunaksatra, who read all the scriptures of Buddhism, but nonetheless fell into the hell of incessant suffering, and Devadatta, you know that name, Devadatta, who mastered 60,000 Buddhist teachings and rebelled against Shakyamuni Buddha, tried to kill him. They call themselves wise in order to appear respectable and to help spread the evil dharma of the collection of passages on the Nembutsu. Now, do you understand why Nichiren does this? Because in his life, he has these posers who are well respected, who are well connected. And because of that authoritarian stance aside, they carry a lot of weight with their words to the populace of Japan. And the populace of Japan is greatly influenced by those words of the connected individual who is given all of this powerful respect, and so they do that. But in so doing, he is planting the seeds or scorching the seeds of everybody's potential Buddha enlightenment. And Nichiren isn't just saying this idly as a competitor. Nichiren is quoting Shakyamuni and his own teachings, and this is Nichiren's duty throughout his life. Calling out that the emperor is naked. Please redress your practice. Next section, 2, falling into the 3 evil realms led by evil teachers. Right? Obvious step. Nichiren says, here I would like to illustrate that even if one was born a human being and encountered Buddhism, though difficult it is, he may fall into the 3 evil realms because of his encounter with an evil friend, a bad influence. It is stated in the Buddha Repository Sutra, and here we go, it's going to quote texts, right? This isn't me saying this, but I do know this, and I'm going to share it with you now. After the extinction of great Adornment Buddha in the remote past, there lived 5 monks, one of whom, monk Fuji, learned the true Dharma and saved millions of people. The remaining 4, however, adhered to evil dharmas, falling into the hell of incessant suffering. It says after death. We continuously have to contend with this cultural bias that doesn't truly understand the words of Shakyamuni Buddha. Nevertheless, this is an old sutra, right? Lying on their backs, on their stomachs, on their left sides, and their right sides, they rolled about in agony for 900 trillion years. This is obvious, isn't it? That the expedient means. This is, I always forget this word, hyperbole, to make a point. No, we don't live 900 trillion years, or live and live and live and live and live and live 900 years. 900. This is the fence analogy that I've already mentioned to you. Sitting on a smooth top fence waiting for a friend to come out to play. You can sit there for quite a while you wait. But if that's a picket fence with points digging into your bum, a minute seems like an eternity, yeah? So that's the rhetorical devices of the expedient means, right? Those who befriended the 4 clergy as well as laymen and their followers totaled 604 trillion, were born and died to be burned and boiled in the worst hell together with those 4 monks. After suffering incalculable years in this hell of incessant suffering, the 4 monks and their 604 trillion disciples and followers were reborn again in the same hell in another world to be tormented for eons. In other words, don't make this mistake. Right? It also declared in the Nirvana Sutra, Facile 33, a much more current sutra, once there lived a Jain named Kutoku in the town of Rajaraga. Upon death, he became a hungry ghost, living near his own corpse. Monk Sunaksatra, a disciple of the Buddha, asked the ghost of Kutoku who he was. Quote, I was born to the realm of hungry spirits because of my hostility toward the Buddha. Heed this carefully, Sunaksatra answered Kutoku. Sunaksatra then returned to the Buddha, falsely saying, quote, world-honored one, Jain Kutoku, after death, was reborn to the heaven of the 33 gods, so on and so forth. The Buddha, together with Kashyapa, later visited Sunaksatra to reprimand him for lying. Seeing the Buddha approaching, Sunaksatra had an evil thought, for which he fell into the hell of incessant suffering alive. So obviously he experienced this hell of incessant suffering in his form as a man, manifest in this life. And this goes straight through the teaching of the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. That Buddha is an experience that is available to us in our samsaric mind. It's the only place you're going to experience it, because a mind is required to experience it. Monk Sunaksatra, a son of the Buddha, was born while the Buddha was practicing the way of Bodhisattva. This is Nichiren now. Following the example of the Buddha, he renounced family ties, studied all the Buddhist scriptures, extinguished evil passions in the realm of desires, and mastered the 4 stages of meditation. Having encountered an evil friend, Kotoku, a heretic, and having doubted the true teaching of Buddhism, Sunaksatra lost the merit of renouncing family ties, receiving Buddhist precepts, and studying all the Buddhist scriptures, and fell into the hell of incessant suffering alive. So again, this is hyperbole, but it's an example of following bad advice. When you've studied that much Buddhism, when you know the teachings of Shakyamuni, and on the whim of influence for whatever, self-serving ego, whatever it was, that allowed himself to get influenced by a poorly practicing person. It's the worst thing he could have done. He let that influence take him away from the honorable, true path, the teachings. And he was easily influenced otherwise, right? Those 604 trillion people who befriended these 4 monks, such as Kugan, had to undergo suffering together with the 4 monks in the hells of incessant suffering throughout the universe. Buddhists today, clergy as well as lay followers, revere the collection of passages on the Nembutsu so much that they show respect to the portrait and statue of Genku and accept the evil teaching, insisting that all the scriptures of Buddhism are impossible to practice. Then what the heck are they doing? Right? This defies logic. Again, Buddhism is about a clear, common sense, reasoning, rational mind. Whenever there's irrational claims, they should be deeply questioned. Don't just let them take over your practice, right? They are similar to those disciples of monk Kutoku, a Jain, now you know what Jainism is, I hope. I may need to remind you that Jain, to many people who are unaware, who don't practice Shakyamuni's teachings, Buddhism, nor the Lotus Sutra, or maybe some do that too. The point is, the Jains adopt many aspects of Buddhist teachings. They get a little clouded with Hindu ideas and teachings that they mix in with Buddhism right away. Stop. And so they maintain an allegiance to the thinking of an extant soul, a life that repeats, reincarnation, that kind of thing. How they justify that, I don't understand. Although I will admit that through the English translations anyway, we could see where there's perhaps the seed of confusion there. But also, if you study Shakyamuni's teachings, or Nagarjuna's, or Vasubandhu's, or Tendai's, or any scholarship of Buddhism, these foremost fundamental concepts of impermanence, no soul, anatman, everything in flux constantly, right? The nidana, origination, all of these fundamental teachings of Buddhism completely throw those aberrations away. I mean, in many ways, this was the point of early practices of Buddhism. Get your head reasonable, rational, and look at the obvious. Stop being carried away by the fancies and imagination of your mind just to self-entertain. You're not getting anywhere doing that. Well, Jain monks are stuck in that, I won't even call it a middle ground. They're just polluting Buddhism, right? So this is, in case you didn't know, this monk, Kutoku, a Jain, paying respects to the ashes of their Jain master and falling into the three evil realms, hell, hunger, and animality, right? I meditate that people today, both clergy and lay followers, will make offerings or pay respects to the collection of passages on the Nembutsu only after asserting whether or not it preaches the correct teaching. Otherwise, they will certainly suffer remorse. Therefore, it is stated in the Nirvana Sutra. Now, the sentence I just read is exactly what I was saying earlier. Nichiren is saying, you want to practice and laud this, hold high this collection of passages on the Nembutsu only. I will only accept that if you can show me and ascertain whether or not it preaches the correct teachings. So he throws down the gauntlet. He goes, I've been repeating this ad nauseum, but okay, you want to say that, the Nembutsu is superior. Show me where, anywhere in Shakyamuni's teachings, anything is stated to support that claim. Then I'll shut up. Nichiren's like a lightning rod, right? Where are you getting this? You making it up? Where's that coming? It's not in here anywhere. It would be like saying to you, 4 plus 4 is 198. And we believe that. Okay. Then show me in all of the scholarship of mathematics where that is true. And then I'll believe you. Right? It's that kind of an argument. And Nichiren is making this argument over and over and over. So in the Nirvana Sutra, it states, Bodhisattvas, do not be afraid of such things as wild elephants, but fear evil friends. Why? Because a wild elephant may destroy our bodies, but not our minds, while an evil friend can destroy both. Drop the mic. Yeah? Be careful with our associations, because as human samsaric beings, we are influenced constantly by ourselves, let alone the world around us, and especially those we bring close. they can influence us very easily through our desire to be loved, to participate, to our egos. We're very vulnerable there. Right? It's like the old stories you would hear about, don't associate with a thief. Well, yeah, but he's not a bad person. He just occasionally he steals stuff, but I won't do that. And yet the longer your friendship grows deeper and stronger, you start to lessen your criticality of their stealing. And you start to maybe even justify it. Yeah, but and then one day you find yourself in a store or in a position and you're not even with your friend, but you see something and then somebody working in the store treats you poorly and you go, well, I deserve to have this. You've been influenced to become a thief. And it's all because of your association with a thief. This is the human disease. I'm not saying humanity is a disease. I'm saying the conditions we live in of grasping, craving, makes us extremely vulnerable to our lower natures. Yeah. Lower realms. Let's go on and finish this quotation. A wild elephant may crush merely one person, but an evil friend can crush both body and mind of innumerable persons, not only by themselves, but through their influence of you and the people you know. You'll start justifying behavior just to maintain a relationship. You know that's true. An elephant may crush merely an impure, stinking body, but an evil friend can destroy both pure body and mind. A wild elephant may merely ruin our flesh and blood, while an evil friend can corrupt our Buddha nature. Our nature to perceive the world truly and clearly. Because it's muddied, our mind, where our Buddha nature exists and manifests, becomes clouded with impurities, with false thoughts, right? Killed by a wild elephant, we may not fall into the three evil realms. However, it seems inevitable for us to fall there when we die of an evil friend. This wild elephant is only a physical enemy, while the evil friend is the enemy of the true Dharma. You, bodhisattvas, therefore, should always be careful to stay away from evil friends. Now Nichiren continues, and we'll end on this. I hope that people today, clergy and laypersons, will set aside for a moment the thought that this writing of Nichiren may preach an erroneous doctrine, and open the commentary on the 10 stages by Bodhisattva Nagarjuna to ascertain whether or not the Lotus Sutra is included in the difficult-to-practice way. I hope that they will then think thoroughly whether or not the 4-character phrase meaning in the same manner, I believe, in the collection of passages on the Nembutsu is an arbitrary interpretation of Genku before deciding which is correct. I hope they will not waste precious life by mistakenly putting conviction and resolve in an evil teacher and learning an erroneous Dharma. And the next section here is a teacher helpful for the ignorant in the latter age. In this section, I would like to define a good friend, reliable teacher for the ignorant in the latter age of degeneration. And by ignorant, he doesn't mean stupid. He means unaware. Okay? So that will be for the next video. He starts with a question. And yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So thank you for listening. I hope this is making sense for you. If there's some aspect, apologies, if there's something I said during this reading and analysis that maybe didn't sit right with you or didn't sound right, or you wonder what I meant, I'm not a perfect person. So I have a lot of ideas, like all of you do, streaming through my head all the time. And as I read Nichiren, it's very easy to get excited about, oh, wow, yes, right? And I get it. And there's so many things that he just alights in the mind that sometimes it's hard to communicate succinctly the idea, because there are many. So I apologize if that happens. I try to catch myself whenever I see it happening in my monkey mind and get to the essentials. But I can only know if I missed a beat somewhere if you call me out. So let me know. On the other hand, you may just want a deeper dive into something I've said that I didn't. I try to cover as much as I can, but what is it, 80,000 teachings? Probably a lot more. There's a lot to keep track of. So your questions or your comments are very important to me, and actually feed me areas that I need to reinvestigate, or maybe I've done videos before and have them on this channel and you just haven't found them. You can look for them, of course, in the search bar on the homepage of this channel. Just make it simple terms and you'll get a plethora of videos, either with that directly in the title or the description, or that somehow are related to it. And that way you can keep your study and your involvement going without waiting for a response from me, right? But I read everything. Whether it's the comments on the videos or emails, I'll read it. And some of you ask really profound questions, whether you know it or not. But they're profound in that they cover very important concepts of Shakyamuni's teachings. And so whenever possible, I like to address those with a video, because that question guaranteed has crossed all of our minds at one point or another. And whether it wasn't convenient to ask about it, or we were worried about asking about it, or maybe we thought, no, I'm going to sound stupid, whatever your prohibitions, I can ask you to get rid of them, but you're human and you may not. So the ones that do filter through to me, I take very seriously. The Sangha. We're all struggling with the same thing, invoking Buddha in our minds. And like I said before, we all have our particular paths. So through dialogue, we can solve certain questions, open up others, right? Just keep our practice of Buddhism lively. And therefore we increase our confidence. It inspires us. We want to go to our Butsudan and focus in on that mandala, and let's get Buddhism awake right here, right now, in my mind. Right? We all need encouragement. So through this association, hopefully, that's what we achieve. Thank you again. Thanks, my patrons. You guys are amazing. We all thank you for keeping this channel alive and moving forward. I certainly thank you for that. And we'll see you in the next one, right? You'll be here? Okay. And I will see you then. Bye for now.